This computer. All righty. Welcome, everyone. There's Rico and there's Diane. And a minute ago, I saw Karen, but I don't see her now.
Karen's here. Karen's here.
Karen's here?
Yes.
All right. My view is not showing everybody. I have 2 pages. How lovely. And Kathleen is here and Lynn is here. How extraordinary. So I just, while we're waiting for another minute while people coming in, oh, there's Kazi. Hi, Kazi.
Rosalind, this is
Hi,
Karen.
Rosalind.
What's that?
This is Karen.
Hi, Karen. I see you now.
Yes, and I know you'd love to see my face, and I would love to support that. And I have to eat dinner. We
All
just
right.
got home.
I'm so happy you're here. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me.
No,
Eat your
I'm
dinner.
happy to be here. I do
Yes,
need to.
please do what works for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, she knows that I love to see her face. So I just want to, oh, hi, Kathleen and Leanne. Not everybody was here. Most people were. Rico sent us a wonderful note in his absence last week. Not everybody was here when we had our surprise guest last week. And I just wanted to point out how, I don't know if everybody that was here connected his visit. So we had, what do you call them?
Hacker.
So we had a hacker come in, and at first we didn't know he was a hacker. So we were indulging his conversation, which was a bit of potty talk. And but our conversation, our serious conversation, was around the subject, if you remember, of what's involved to saying yes to life when we don't agree with what's going on. And we were having some debates with whether you get quiet, and that's, how you agree with what's going on, and how is that if you don't have the opinion. And then we had the discussion about if it's a picnic and then there's a thunderstorm, and unless you want to have a very unhappy day, you're not going to fight with the weather. You're going to pick up your things. You're going to say, well, I wanted a nice sunny day, but it's, you don't even use the words. You just go with the weather, pick the stuff up, never mind your opinion, right? And go to where it's dry. Most of us would do that. It would be, I think, agreed upon as a reasonably healthy thing to do if your picnic got rained on. Well, wouldn't you know it? We had exactly that experience with our hacker. None of us would vote for pornography during this meeting, and potty talk and disrupting the intent of the conversation. And yet it didn't affect our meeting at all. I think it was a great example of exactly what we were talking about, right? And then afterwards, we had the dilemma, because I really don't know yet how to edit, especially in the middle of a video, how to edit. Apparently there was explicit pornography on the replay. And so it was a question of, do I send it out, or do I tell people they can't have it? Some people watch every week and don't come. And so what I want to point out about it is, not only was it a good example of saying yes in the sense of not fighting, not resisting. Oh my God, nobody in the meeting said, oh my God, look at what we had to see. And oh my God, how did this happen? And why did this happen? And how can we stop this? And all of that is what would have looked like resistance, right? I mean, raise your hand if you agree. Like, we could have been all disturbed and try to talk about how it happened and why it happened and what does it mean and what's the message. And, we could have gone all excited about it. But I just wanted to point out something else, that there was no right or wrong answer, I don't feel, about whether we should send it out or not. Dove and I decided to send out the replay, just, with the pornography on there and everything. I didn't even feel compelled to write people a preface and say, I'm sorry, this has pornography on it. If you want to watch it your own, whatever. It's just what happened. And yet there were some people who suggested, that they hoped I took the pornography out. Couldn't put it on YouTube because YouTube noticed they have a way to filter, and they found the pornography in 2 seconds. So it was rejected from YouTube. But the people who thought that I should have done something else, I did not feel were wrong either. I didn't feel right. It's just, I was moved to send it out anyway. And I just want to put that out there for a brief discussion about maybe things aren't right or wrong. Maybe they just are. And whichever way we do it, it's fine. Do you see what I mean in this example? Well, I sent it out. I felt no responsibility for the pornography or the people's experience when they watched it. I just didn't feel it. But on another night, I might have felt I needed to protect people and buyer beware, since I was the one sending it out. And the people who suggested I should have done something, I could see their point. So anybody want to make a comment about maybe things just are, maybe this filter that we put it through about which way and, who's right and who's wrong and which is the more loving, which is the better, which is the more helpful, whatever our filter is, maybe all of that is not necessary. Maybe we could just follow the movement, and that maybe we are being lived and we just do as we're being moved. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I would just say that everything happens for the good. That's right out of the Course in Miracles. All things happen for the good. This is always true, except in the judgment of the ego. So, everything is really a lesson that we've come here to learn. And of course, if I react to it, I'm saying somebody did something and they're guilty and what should we do? No, the Christ mind does not react to anything that's in the dream because he knows that none of it's real. I mean, YouTube thought it was real, so they censored it. But on the other hand, if you're sitting here in this room, everything happens perfectly, literally.
Kathleen, you have something to say.
Oh, yes, Rosalind, I was so glad that you put it up because when I was watching it, it was so funny when that suddenly popped on the screen. I was like kind of half watching, half listening, maybe taking a little notes or think. And then I looked back and there's this little porn action. I'm like, what the heck? It was almost like you did it on purpose just to make me laugh. It's so funny because the contrast was so stunning to get, go from a meeting, a spiritual mind meeting, and then go into this body action thing that's happening on the screen. And then I wondered, like when I wrote to you, if you had even seen it. Like I thought, well, maybe it's not on there during the replay process or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought you handled it beautifully and it was very funny. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathleen. And John, you have something to say here?
Yeah, I just want to echo that too, that sentiment, Kathleen, because I thought it was a great practice session for what happens when you get distracted. And that was a major distraction. And I'm really grateful that I was able to handle it so well myself. And I even asked you, if you'd noticed it, and you hadn't because you were busy working on your screen or whatever. But it was just a great experience. And I think that call was like a hands-on, boots on the ground, a demonstration of exactly what we were talking about. It was the best call ever. That's why I wrote to you.
Yes, I appreciated that. Yeah, and I really did think it was a great gift. And if there isn't a personal us, then things just are, not the good, not the bad. I do feel that there are many sections of the course that are for us when we're experiencing that separate ego, that personal self, all of the parts that are for us when we're beginning, when we're like the toddlers who need to hold on to the walls, like it came up the other week. I don't know about you, but if I heard there was no personal self, and this was a study in just understanding that we are being lived, and I don't know if I would have gone on to, the next, if there wasn't so much help in A Course in Miracles for those of us who were suffering with personal attacks and so on. So there's so many layers in the course, and Dove has a way of understanding that good that takes it out of the personal self. Most people hear that line that Dove quoted and hear it as it's for our personal good. That's how most people understand that line. And that's not what I hear when Dove talks about it. Can you go over the sentence again about what the ego does with that, Dove?
Well, if you talk about that one line, chapter 4, section 5, it literally says, everything happens for the good. This is always true, except in the judgment of the ego. Now, that's also seen in lesson 24. I do not know my own best interest. And in that lesson, he says, you don't have your own personal best interest. If you think you're a person, you're basically the ego. You don't have your own best personal interest.
Yeah.
Of course, lesson 25 says, I don't know what anything is for. I don't know what that thing happened for us. The ego says, no, that was against us.
Right. And when you think of our language, we don't have very many words that are just neutral. We have good and bad. We have our own best good, which is, has an opposite. We have is. We have God is, I am. But we don't have a lot of other words that don't have an opposite in language. But I did hear something, speaking of language, that was, I thought, brilliant. And it was about, if we think of the ego as a verb rather than a noun, what does that mean? So the ego isn't real at all, except in our thinking. Thinking is a verb, the ing, but it's not a thing. So there's a lot of brilliance in that distinction. Anybody want to pick up on that? Does it mean anything to anybody else, or was that just my reaction? What if that's true? It's just the thinking mind that makes the ego seem real, that you're not good enough and you lack all these things. And if you were only this and that, you need a little improvement. But what if it's just that verb?
Yeah, it is. It's just it's a process. It's a process, and it's a process of stories. It's the ego's made up.
But it's
Just
not a thing.
So
So
that become attached to. Become attached to. It's a process.
But what if we really take in that there is no thing like that? So it's just thinking we're talking about. And feeling.
Yeah,
Thinking and feeling, right?
Well, if you're talking about linguistics, then you have to look at in a proper noun, you can put in a wheelbarrow, but you can't put an ego in a wheelbarrow. Like, otherwise, it's a normalization. It's a process. You know, it's totally made up together with a lot of other words.
That's
So
good.
you
Can't
have
put
to
it in a wheelbarrow.
de-normalize it. Yeah.
I like that, John. You can't put it in a wheelbarrow. That's really good. Okay, so anybody have the thought of why am I not further? Why have I not gotten further in my spiritual development?
I do. I have that thought.
And where is enlightenment? Do you have that thought? Is it around the corner? Am I ever going to get there?
Yeah, because I find myself like doing the 6 steps of Dietrich Walzak. You know, I don't do it 300 times a day, but I maybe should, because I'm still stuck back there. I do find that it helps, but I still have that sniggling in the back of my brain that I'm really not doing the forgiveness thing.
Mhm,
I'm really not doing that.
mhm.
I still have days where it's like, no, I can't do this. So yeah, I feel like for me, it's just a real struggle. I don't feel like Gary Renard, where he knows he's gonna not come back.
Mhm. I'm going to screen share then. And we're going to watch a video from Rupert that's the title is Why Am I Not Yet Enlightened? Is that a good fit?
Yep, that'll be great.
Okay. Let's see. We're just going to take the stop screen share again. Okay. Try it again. There we go.
It's just the frustration I have of, you know, doing these sorts of things for almost 40 years now and not being awake. And, you know, a lot of the time it's okay, but some of the times, like the last couple of days, it's not okay.
You're not awake?
You know what I mean? The shift you talked about this morning. This is the way it is. I would settle for that. It doesn't have to be the dramatic. I mean, I've read a lot of books about the dramatic. That's really what I want. But, you know, I'll settle for Now I have those in small increments. I'm not saying I don't have any. I'm just explaining to you what's happening with me. I just feel the need to say it. Okay. That I just want to hit my head on the wall and just say, wake up, wake up. I'm just so sick of this illusory separate one. And as you just said, serving her. I mean, I'm exhausted. You know, I'm getting old, I'm getting tired. And this has been my main focus for 40 years. And you did say once to me, the desire for liberation is important. But I know that hitting my head against the wall is not very productive. So find a place in there somewhere.
You're still expecting something to happen.
Unfortunately, yes.
That's the problem. You still conceive of enlightenment as a marvelous event. Okay, you've agreed to settle for a not so marvelous event.
Right.
But nevertheless, you still want quite a nice event.
Something. Just something.
Yeah, just something. Just something. You still want something. That's it. That's the problem.
I know.
Enlightenment is not an event. It's not a marvelous event. It's not a mundane event. It's not any kind of an event. It's not something that happens.
A shift. I've heard it explained as a shift, and I think you used that word
even
today. I'm
that
not
is
sure.
to say too much.
But that's an event, yeah.
Okay, no, it's not even an event. It's not. That's just. It's a concession to the inadequacies of language to call it a shift or an event. Let's say you're watching TV. and you're watching a movie, and you're looking at our favorite view, the landscape, and someone comes in and says to you, look at the screen. What do you do?
Well, if there's something on the screen, I can't really see the screen unless there's no image there, or I can see through it, or.
No. When you're looking at a TV, the TV's off. Yes, you just look at the blank TV. You're seeing the screen. Yeah, you turn the movie on. The screen doesn't disappear. You're still looking at the screen, but the screen now appears as a landscape. You get involved in the movie. It's a wonderful film. You get totally involved in it. You forget that you're seeing a screen. You think that you're seeing a landscape. So your friend comes in and your friend says to you, what are you looking at? And what are you seeing? And you say, I've seen this marvelous landscape. And your friend says to you, look at the screen. Are you not already seeing the screen? Are you not already looking at it?
In the form of the landscape.
Yes, but it's the same screen. It's exactly the same screen that was there before you turned the movie on. It appears now, it's taken the shape of a landscape, but it's still the same screen. The screen hasn't disappeared. Yeah. So would you say that it was to see the screen was a new event? Is it a marvelous experience in the movie?
Not in that metaphor, no.
No. Does the screen even show up in the movie?
No.
No. What you're looking for is an event in the movie. You're still subtly imagining that enlightenment is a wonderful or even a not so wonderful event in the movie. And as long as you're looking for it in the movie, you're going to seem not to be seeing the screen because your attention is focused on objects. So what do you have to do when you're looking at the landscape, what do you have to do to see the screen?
In that metaphor, nothing.
Yes, the screen is not something new that comes in. Enlightenment is not something that is new. It's not something that was lost and now has to be found. At best, and even this is not quite true, but at best we could say it was overlooked due to our fascination with the drama in the movie, that is the drama of the body, mind, and world. Due to our fascination, our exclusive fascination with these appearances, we seem to have lost sight of their reality, the screen. And as a result of that, we think, oh, I must go looking for it. And off we go around the world, visiting teachers and ashrams and everything. We go on this terrific journey around the world, which is like the character in the movie searching for the screen. So now you are searching, the equivalent in your life is you are looking, traveling, you're the character in the movie, traveling around the world looking for the screen. In other words, you are looking in the mind and the body, in your case, not in the world, but in the mind and the body for some special experience, which is, that's it, that's the shift, that's the event. Now I'm on the other side of the fence. There isn't a fence that you've finally crossed to get to enlightenment. Enlightenment is just, it's like the moment you recognize the screen in the movie, and the moment you recognize it, simultaneous with that recognition, you recognize, oh, I was always seeing the screen. I never really ceased seeing the screen, but only because of my fascination with the drama in the movie that it seemed to be absent, the screen. And as a result of that apparent absence, I went off out into the world searching for it.
I was always the screen, right? I mean, that's the next step.
Yes, you have never for a fraction of a second ceased being the presence of awareness, the unlimited, ever-present awareness. You have never ceased to be that.
I feel that more and more, but this illusory separate self, sometimes she's kind of melting away and becoming more vague, you know? And I go, oh, wow, great. She's starting to disappear.
Why do you want her to disappear? What you're
Because
saying?
she's miserable
No,
sometimes.
Okay, what you're saying, so the equivalent in our metaphor of what you're saying is, you're watching this period drama, there are lots of characters, and there's one woman in the movie.
I don't want her in that movie.
You don't like her. And what you're saying is, until that woman gets out of the movie, I can't see the screen. Only when she leaves the movie, only then will I notice the screen. That's what you're saying.
Well, as you said earlier, all the energy that is spent on her, to no avail.
But whose
No happiness
problem
in it.
is she? For the screen, is this troublesome woman in the movie a problem? She might be a problem for one of the other characters.
Right. Part of her own self.
But she's not a problem for the screen. In fact, awareness doesn't have problems, doesn't know problems. Why? Because in order for there to be a problem, there needs to be resistance. There needs to be the I don't like this. That's what makes a situation a problem. Yeah. But awareness is like empty space. It's never saying to the current experience, I don't like you. And therefore it doesn't have problems. So it's not saying, oh, my horrible separate self needs to be got rid of. I'm fed up with her. The I that is fed up with her is another form of herself. In other words, the separate self is perpetuating itself by trying to get rid of itself.
Right, I know, yeah.
You're caught in this mind from which you are understandably tired of trying to get rid of yourself. I, the separate self, want to get rid of myself so that I, the separate self, can experience enlightenment. And you're going round and round and round, and you're rightly frustrated and disheartened because you're engaged in a never-ending endeavor, which is perpetuating the separate self by trying to get rid of it. It's just see the situation clearly. You cannot get rid of an illusion.
You know, I see all that, but it's, I mean,
But
I
no,
see
but
it
if you
intellectually.
really, no, but to really see it,
Right.
it would bring that endeavor to an end. Because what do you have to do to get rid of the landscape that you're watching? You can't do anything because the landscape's not really there. What can you do to an illusion? What do you need to do to an illusion? Just to see that it's an illusion. Don't spend your life trying to get rid of an illusion. It's a waste of a lifetime.
What I mean by trying to get rid of it is seeing it as an illusion. That's what I mean. You know, what you just said, but I also see that, yeah, I'm.
Okay, so now to see that what you are is not a separate limited self, is it not clear to you now that you are the one that is aware of your experience? Okay, now, if you were to turn your attention towards that one, where do you go?
Nowhere.
No. If you were, can you even turn towards it? Which direction? No. So how can it be separate or limited if you can't find it as any kind of an object? You answered both those questions from your experience. That was obviously true. So if you cannot find the awareness that you know yourself to be, if you don't know where to look for it, how do you know that it has a limit or that it is separate? Only an object could be limited or separate. Exactly. You don't know that. Right there in that understanding, and I can see you're answering these questions from understanding, not because you've read books, and right there is the knowledge that what you are, it has no limits. Just live what you understand. Take your stand there. that one, that awareness is always wide awake. The enlightenment is not for awareness. Awareness is already the light that illumines all experience, that makes all experience knowable. It cannot be what would enlighten? It is already that makes experience knowable.
One definition of awakening I've heard is awareness recognizes itself.
Are you aware right now? Yes? Okay. How do you know you're aware? Why did you answer? How come you answered yes to that question?
Self-evident.
It's self-evident. And what is it? To whom is it self-evident that awareness, that you are aware?
To itself.
Right there is the experience of awareness, being aware of itself. That's it. It never gets better than that. I mean, you were the one that, and quite rightly, defined enlightenment as awareness, being aware of itself. And then I asked you the question, are you aware? And from your own intimate experience, you answered yes. In other words, I, awareness, am aware that I am aware. Nothing else can be aware that I'm aware. In other words, enlightenment is a fancy name for the most simple, the most ordinary, the most well-known experience there is, and all 7 billion of us know it. However, because it cannot be found by the mind, in most cases it is deemed missing. And as a result of that, the peace and the happiness that are inherent in it are also considered missing. And hence the imaginary self goes off into the world in search for the missing peace and happiness. And as we all know, it doesn't live there. Where does it live? In the simple knowing of our own being. It's knowing of itself. That is awareness's awareness of awareness. And it is your innermost experience at all times. It's not a new experience. It's not something that has been lost and has to be found. At worst, we could say it has been overlooked, apparently. The screen has been overlooked due to our exclusive fascination with the body, the mind, and the world. All that's necessary is just relax the focus of your attention from the body, mind, and the world. You don't have to get rid of them. Just cease being exclusively focused on, and it's like just withdrawing your attention. It's like putting the camera slightly out of focus. And your attention flows back to its source, which is yourself. You just stand as this space of awareness, and you just let the body, the mind, and the world do whatever they've been conditioned to do. Just let them flow by.
So I was going to ask you what you meant more by stand.
To stand as awareness.
But you just gave another way of experiencing it,
the suggestion
which I get.
I'll just say something about that. The suggestion to stand as awareness would seem to be given to someone who is not presently standing as awareness and who might do so in the future. So to say that is a concession to the belief that we are a separate self. It doesn't really make sense, but it's sometimes used in the context of a conversation. What would be more accurate would be to say, be knowingly the presence of awareness. The reason I say knowingly is just to be the presence of awareness. You already are that. You've never been anything other than eternal, infinite. So hence be knowingly that. Know that you are that. That's what I mean by take your stand as that.
Yeah, I can feel that. I know what you mean because yeah.
You can't actually be anything other than that. Another way of saying it would be just notice that you are that. Instead of mistaking yourself for a cluster of thoughts and feelings, just notice, oh no, I'm the one that is aware of those. I'm not a cluster of thoughts and feelings. All these flow by, but I'm not flowing by. I'm just always here. I would recommend really forgetting about enlightenment.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, so what I mean about forgetting about enlightenment, because of this tendency you have to conceive of it as an event.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Should I stop reading all those dangerous books about?
You don't have to read any more books.
Right.
Another question to ask yourself is just to look for that which is ever present in your experience. And just stay with that. Just look in all experience for that which is always there. It's looking for the screen in the movie. You don't have to look for it. It's actually, it's staring itself in the face. What is always present in experience? Just the knowing of it. This knowing runs through all experience. That's it. Just be with that. Just allow that to come from the background into the foreground.
Yeah, I experience that more and more, so I know what you mean. Yeah, it just, yeah, okay.
Reactions? Carol.
There's this wonderful artist that I listen to. Her name is Kirtana, and she has a song, and it's exactly what Rupert was talking about. It took me a little while to understand it, but the first words of this one song are, "The fishes are confused in searching for the sea. Find what you can't lose. Be free."
Oh,
And I was like, I was like, oh, I would just sing the words and I would just go along with it. And then I was like, oh, that's us. We don't even know we are already where we want to go. And this is not, this seems to be just what Rupert was talking about.
Exactly.
It is. We don't have to do anything
100%.
to be who we are.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. How do you spell that? Can you put the artist name in the chat?
In the chat, sure. Sure.
Thank you,
Her
Carol.
music is very contemplative. It's lovely. You could meditate to it. It's very, very soft and just soft. It's very soft, and the words are totally beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol.
Yeah.
Any other reactions? And did you notice how the woman's argument and resistance changed and her voice changed? And by the end, she wasn't really willing to say she isn't going to look for enlightenment, but you could tell. Couldn't you feel, anybody else feel how she was getting it? Yeah, Kazi, you could. Yeah. Any other questions or reactions or?
I think what I saw, because I'm probably there, is I did see the resistance in her, and I don't know why I'm resistant. I think it's because of my perceptions of things, stuff that, and so my perceptions are reinforcing my resistance. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And those would have to be that what I'm thinking is happening is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe what I think happened is a lie, but I still keep getting that reinforcement of the lie and believing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt about her too, because 40 years is a long time.
Yeah. And I could hear her resistance, but I felt it and going down and down and down.
And I think that that's true, that's true with me too, that I can get it down, but then it comes back again. And I think that's what she was saying. That was that 40 years. And so the point was, to me, the biggest point that he made was the idea that she was trying to see the movie, in her case, her movie. And in that movie, instead of seeing the screen, what she was doing was seeing the things on the movie. And she was trying to hope that the movie would give her the enlightenment, not realizing that the movie was just a projection. It wasn't the screen, and she's the screen. So she wasn't going to be able to ever see anything except the stuff that was causing her to believe that she was never going to get there. All the pain from the stuff, whether it was in the movie or real life, the stuff that she was, how did he say it? It was her resistance. And that the problem, I think that's what he said. She has a problem, and that's resistance. You can't have problems. It says that in the Course in Miracles. There are no problems.
Well, her problem was trying to get rid of herself. So
Yes.
I would add something to what you're saying, Suzanne, that Rupert would say that I believe that you can enjoy the movie, you can enjoy all the things that are happening, as long as you don't make any of them the problem and exclude the screen. You can include the movie. The movie can and should be included because we are sentient beings. We're supposed to be embodied. We are supposed to react and be alive, fully alive, and include the movie, but not exclude the screen, not confuse ourselves to be these transient objects that we're visualizing and experiencing, because he's big on your experience. When he says it's transitory, he doesn't mean you don't see it and you're not experiencing it. He just means they come and go, just like our thoughts and our feelings. That's what I would add. Two participants raised their hands. Rico. Hi, Rico.
Good evening, friends and family. Welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I send you love, light, and well-being from my heart to yours. And it's so good to be here. My take-home message was Rupert was absolutely, in his delivery, so simplistic that I started getting it a little bit. He didn't complicate it and have it all out in the stratosphere somewhere. He just kept it really where it is, right here, right now. And for me, my take-home message was, it doesn't matter what I believe, I don't believe, if I want to resist, or it doesn't matter. Awareness is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get into that awareness, watching awareness, I could give up my fears, I could give up my insecurities, I could give up all the things that piss me off. I could let all that go because I could just hang out with awareness. The other side of midnight is, I'm born and raised in Spanish Harlem in New York, and it's a rough neighborhood. One of the skill sets you have to have is, when you walk down the street in Spanish Harlem, you have to know who and what is around you at all times. Yet, had I known who was walking right by my side every second of the day, I wouldn't experience fear or doubt. But I didn't know that. So when he broke that down, that awareness, it's there. What are you fighting me for? It's right there. Relax, sit back, and this is my take home, and just be with awareness and see how things that sort of trigger you just start to just fade in the background. You're not even pushing them away. So it was a powerful message for me, and I will take it home. And thank you for letting me be here.
Rico. How powerfully and beautifully said you shared. Thank you. John. Yeah.
The buzzword would be, I'm one with that.
That's from another meeting. We love that. Thank you.
Thanks,
John.
Rico. Thanks, Rico. That's great. I love to hear that. because
Mm.
that kind of fits in with what I'm going to say. That was the part that's missing, that I didn't have this. But I'm kind of along with Suzanne, and I really like that, that he identifies the problem as something that has resistance. If I've got resistance to anything, I got a problem. So in other words, what he says, I don't like or want this. Like this is my problem. I don't like this, or I don't want that. And for me, that's okay to know that, so long as it points me to the direction what Rico was just saying. So I think it's fair to say that, I don't want this, as long as it's going to point me to that. And so that's what I got, the main thing out of that, because I'm going to have to deal with that resistance at some level. I've got to know which way to deal with it. That's one way. There's other ways too, but I like what you said about just including the movie as part of this, this as part of my strategy. Make sure that's there. And the other thing is to know that that it's on the screen. That's the movie, and that I can go to the screen, which is really basically what Rico was saying.
Yeah.
So
And it never leaves us, never
Yeah.
leaves anywhere. And it has no opinions. And it's always the same. It's a holding space. It isn't even loving. It's just everything. It's beyond an emotion, beyond a feeling, beyond a description. It's just isness.
So for me, the ego is just the problem thing, like it's attached to its stories, and they're problematic. So just to deal with those resistances, whichever way you want to do that, but just know that that's the story. I think that's huge. Thanks, Rosalind.
It's beautiful, John. And just think of how you were last week. At first, you were like, our intruder was too much information. You said, I think that's too much information, when he was doing his potty talk. And then you just went with it. It was like including, you had a resistance, but the resistance was not a problem. Your opinion was not a problem. And you included it, you didn't deny it. You weren't all for inviting this person back, but it just was what it was. And I just think we had our own experience with that was, shared.
It was quite a movie, right? It was quite a movie, Rosalind.
Thanks, John. Somebody else had their hands up. Who was that? Let's see.
Me.
Oh, there. Kathleen, just jump in.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I love that whole thing. I'm glad that the woman persevered in her inability to get it, because it's just like how I feel when I'm just, wait a minute, I'm doing all that and it's still not happening. So I thought, and then his steadfastness and just saying, be aware that you're aware. And then I was thinking, it's so difficult to then know that we get to have a happy dream, know that we get to laugh, because how did we get here? We forgot to laugh. And what was it like in heaven? Were we laughing all the time? And what were we laughing at? And then we forgot to laugh, and boom, the big bang. And now we're here. But now we find out it doesn't matter. We don't have to watch. I mean, we can just watch the movie. And then there is the sorrow when I dive into the movie. And that's huge. That's huge for people. The pain and the stuff that we all go through in our personal relationships. So then I had a revelation that it doesn't matter if I fuck up my personal relationships, because that's my biggest thing is, oh my God, how am I going to get into intimate relationships and say the right thing and do the right thing? It doesn't matter. I can just go into the movie and do things and fuck things up, and it doesn't matter because I'm already back with God.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Keep laughing.
Mm-hmm. And all of this is a part of the play too, that there are no wrong ways to do life if it is all being played. It's very reassuring. There's nothing to do. It's not that we're not going to do anything. We will. we're not capable of doing nothing. It's just who's the doer. Anybody else want to jump in? Melissa, thank you.
I missed part of the beginning and I'm so sorry, but oh, you guys are amazing. And I love that because for the first time, I'm getting the holding space. Awareness is our holding space for allowing, it's the screen. I finally get that. Yay, Rupert. And all of you, literally all of you who explained it and before I made the comments and before Rosalind reacted to you guys. But then Rosalind, you just came up with this, we can't not do anything, but who's the doer? And I'm like frantically writing notes about all this, the screen and Rupert and holding space and oh, and then who's the doer? It's like, oh, sorry, you guys.
No,
So
it's
much
beautiful.
excitement.
And your reaction is just taking us further and further. We're doing this together. We're unfolding together. You know, I really think it's useful, at least it has been for me, to notice when I get hypnotized. I feel like that's a very useful concept. You know, it's just a concept. It's not, you know, it's not about really waking up from hypnosis, but I can tell when it's what Rupert calls the residues of a separate self or residues of the collective separate self, the belief in the separate self. When it happens, it's almost like there's a trance. And I notice I can't think when I'm in that spot because I'm using my small mind and the small mind can't get it. The thoughts and the feelings don't get it. That's the movie. That's the play. And I'm starting to notice when other people get there. So I was having a very important conversation with someone about these kinds of matters. And all of a sudden their eyes got big and like they went blank. And I said, it's okay. You just got hypnotized. I understand you can't think. And I'm starting to reveal that not just about myself, but I can see it. We can see it in each other. And it's like when someone said, I got caught. That's what it's like to be caught. We're just in that spell, what Rupert calls the residues. So we didn't fail. We didn't make a bad choice. We didn't go back. There's no need for forgiveness because nothing happened. We just were doing what we were in the habit of doing. And we can, in this instant, the moment I realize I'm hypnotized, is the next second I can wake up because there's nothing to do. I just have to remember I am the one that noticed I was hypnotized and now it's gone. I am a screen. I am the knower of my experience. I am the knower of being aware or awake. And I love that idea of claiming. If we claim that we know something, then it's as important as balancing the claiming of our separate self. We claim that all day. I this, I that, I this, I this, I. When we're thinking personal self, why not claim this? And then more people have a chance to join us. And then the tipping point changes because that's how the world stopped believing that we were flat, that the world was flat. When enough people woke up and started claiming they understood it. And then now we say it's not flat and everybody knows it. It's another hypnosis. It's joining. That's just my take on it. That's not Rupert, but it's just me. Thanks, Melissa. Dub, do you have anything to say? I know you have to leave early. Do you want to add anything about the video before you leave?
No, I just wanted to say that what you just said was very well said. And I thank you for the way that you just put it. Yeah. And that's a great example. The tipping point came when minds are joined and we said, yes, of course, world is not flat. And I think the exact same thing happens here. I mean, Rupert is a little ahead of his time here. He says all 7 billion, 8 billion people are already enlightened. And then he uses the word, he said, I wouldn't even use the word enlightened. It's who you are.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I'm going to check the chat here. Seth's name for Jane Roberts. Huh, Seth, I'm not following that. But anyway, can someone explain what that's about?
I didn't write it, and I should let Kathleen explain it, but isn't Seth one of the people who used to channel?
I do know Seth from along like the 70s or 80s. But,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's who I'm talking about. Yes,
okay.
Seth's name Roberts was Rupert.
Was Seth's
It's
name was
just
Rupert?
No, no,
Just
no.
a piece of-
Seth's name for
Uh-huh.
Jane. When he was
Oh.
speaking to her, he called her Rupert.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard that name before, and now, Rupert Spira. But I read the Seth books in the 70s. They're the first time I encountered you create your own reality. There is no other rule. And then it led me to, Disappearance of the Universe, and then the ACIM, and then all these groups.
Mhm.
But that was my first encounter with channeled material, besides my own grandmother, but, in the 70s and 80s. So sorry to put it in here. I didn't mean to confuse anything.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Does anybody have anything that you want to share, or would you like to do a meditation where we have our experience of this? What would you like?
Meditation.
Okay. Let's just take a moment where we take our personal self that we may have inhabited during the day, our belief in that, and just remember it for a second, and how seriously we took either an umbrage that we felt we were insulted or not valued, or we attacked ourselves that we weren't good enough, or our place in the world wasn't what we would like, or it doesn't matter what the content of it was. But chances are we got involved with it. We got involved with the movie of our lives. And we're expected to do that. We're expected to live our lives on two levels, if you will. One where we interact with the movie of our lives, all the people, with heart, with our bodies, with our minds, with our best selves. We do our best. Most of us do our best. And then we hear from the small mind or our feelings when we think we haven't done well enough, or when we think somebody else hasn't done well enough. But let's move back, behind, and under and around that experience of a separate self, and know right away that we belong to something that knows that experience. The knower of whatever our day was like is always with us. We can count on it. The knower is always the same. It doesn't judge. It doesn't have opinions or preferences, but it always knows that we're alive. And it's quite different from our minds, our small minds that think. It's quite different from our feelings. It's quite a bit like that screen that's always there. If you will, it holds us, not a real personal self, but a localization of everything that is life. You could say another word for the screen is life. It's not a particular life, it's all of life. And we're just happen to be a particular localization, mean we have a different color skin, a different color hair, different color eyes, a different weight, a different sex, but we're still a function of life. We're not separate from life. We're not the controller of life. We're the embodiment of life. And we get to have all of the experiences of the movie as long as we don't believe we're the controller of the movie. The thoughts happen, the feelings happen, they come and they go. They come and they go. They happen. We are being lived by life. And we're being asked to have all of our feelings, not just the ones we think are spiritual, not just the holy ones, but we're not expected to make meaning of it as a separate self, the controller, the one who makes it all happen. That's separate. When we're being lived, we get to experience without the judgment. We're free. We've always been free. We just didn't notice. There's a great story about an elephant that was tied to a tree stump when it was a baby. And it believed that that tree stump would hold it in place. And then it became a big elephant. And when it was tied up, it still believed that it was not free. And you can come back to the room when you have time in your energy space, when you're willing to open your eyes. Time isn't real, so it's whenever you have the yes experience to come back and know that you're that elephant that is free. And you could move from this tree stump anytime you want, as long as you remember that you're not the baby elephant that was tied up and believed in the hypnosis. And that's our separate self. That's our elephant tied up, that we put all that in. We get to be what's true. The screen was always there, and we were always free. Thank you, everybody, for coming back when you can. I just noticed we're at time, and we like to end on time. Anybody enjoy being the elephant when you leave? Who's free? Yeah. Thank you, everybody. We love each other.
Thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you,
Bless
Melissa.
each and everyone. Gracias.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you all. Good to see you too,
Gracias.
Rico. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rosalind.
Mwah.
You know what you mean.
Thank you so much.
Love you. Gracias.
Beautiful. We're so blessed.